that for the preservation of the Quran, the minimum requirement is one variant. Let me put this in. Let me show you the implications of this.
Right. Okay.
Let me tell you the implications of this. Right. So, for example, it's commonly known. I'm sure you know that is Surah Al-Fatiha, the first chapter of the Quran. It says, yeah, we have two ways of reciting the third verse, which is Malik Yawmuddin and Malik Yawmuddin.
Yep.
That the king of the day of judgment and the possessor of the day of judgment.
Yep.
On this view, all you need for preservation of the Quran to happen is just one of those variants. So in other words, if I don't have in my possession both qira'as, Malik Yawmuddin, which is the possessor of the day of judgment, and Malik Yawmuddin, which is the king of the day of judgment, then still only one would be enough to preserve the Quran. And the evidence for that, they say, is, for example, when we read the Quran in Taraweeh, like in Ramadan right now, every day we read a portion of the Quran, we only really read it with one qira'ah. Some mosques they do it in like many qira'ahs, like Muntada mosque. However, like every day they'll do a different qira'ah. The point is that the point I'm making is all that is required is just one variant. So if you're asking me, first of all, the issue of preservation. In terms of preservation, the conservative view of preservation of Quran is only one variant may exist, and that will be it. So that would mean if there's any other variant that's outside of the Quran, that's not part of the final codex or whatever, that could have been a variant which is sanctioned by the Prophet, but there's no requirement for it to be preserved from that perspective.
Okay, but I think that in effect concedes my point, which is that perfect preservation, at least on the second view, isn't perfect.
No, but that's the idea. They would say perfect is a subjective term, right? So we have to specify what we mean.
So what I mean by that, though, is objectively speaking, there is not a single authoritative source, but rather there are many different sources. Your view on whether they're authoritative is, whether you accept the first view or the second view. But ultimately, if you accept the second view, then you would have to concede that it's not perfectly preserved because there are different ones.
No, I mean, it depends on how you define perfect. So they would say that is perfect preservation. That's the argument.
But that's inherently not true. Like no textual manuscript scholar would say it's perfect preservation, right?
The issue,
because there are variants.
Okay, well,
the presence of a variant means that it's not perfectly preserved.
No, but the variant itself is explained from within the tradition.
Right, that's fine. You may re-understand your interpretation of what it means to be perfectly preserved, but from a scholarly perspective, they wouldn't say it's perfectly preserved because there are different variants.
The word, as I said, the word perfect is fraught with subjectivity. So we need to be clear what we're talking about.
So I'm talking about textual criticism. When we're trying to figure out what the original author said and did, right? If there are different copies that say different things, then we would have to concede that it's not on that scale perfectly preserved. Do you agree?
No, not like that. No, because what they would say that they use the word kamal, which is the Arabic word for like complete. That's, I think, more. It's an easier way to kind of, because otherwise it's subjective. What's perfect, what's not perfect. So
obviously that's what
I will concede is that certainly there's a difference of opinion as to what is the minimum requirement for preservation in Islam.
Right.
There are some some scholars who say that all of the variants must be preserved. Okay, and they say therefore the 10 major qira'ahs that we have today, that they must be, all of the variants that the Prophet said must be within those 10. Whereas the early view, which I take, is that actually that's not the case. That in order for preservation to happen, all you only require is one variant.
Right, but what you're talking about here, and I think you summed it up quite well there, is that preservation, not a perfect preservation, because ultimately if it was perfect in the way that we understand it from a scholarly point of view, there would only be one copy.
I'll tell you something, Chris, which I think you're right about. When you do listen to, on prima facie value, when you listen to this kind of, when people say that the Quran word for word, letter for letter, it makes it seem as if there's no variance. I agree with that, and I think that's a mistake on our behalf, that we didn't clarify that early in the da'wah.
Cool,
it's where people in the past, 20, 30 years ago, didn't explain to the people, because this is known to Islamic historians for 1,400 years. Textual criticism, for example, some say that, Islam doesn't have textual criticism, but the truth is, it's called naqd al-qira'at, or textual criticism of the qira'at. That was there in the early days of Islam. So people that know this field, they will tell you that actually there was a textual criticism tradition in Islam.
Yeah, I agree that there was. I think largely because the companions differed about what their actual.
No, the issue was not with the companions at all.
But they did differ about it, right?
No. The issue is never. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you. Let me make the argument for you.
Okay. Yeah.
If you look at Sahih al-Bukhari, for example, you'll find. I'll tell you exactly what you're saying. I'll give you the evidence for it.
Okay.
Abu Darda, Abu Darda in Sahih Bukhari, he recites Surah Al-Layl, which is chapter 92 of the Quran. So it's recited in the 10 qira'ahs as وَمَا خَلَقَ ذَكَرُ الْأُنْثَى. Yeah? And who created the male and the female? He says, no, I'm going to read that وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنْثَى. And the male and the female. So it's an oath. God is taking an oath. He says, I'm by the male and the female. He says, I'm not going to recite وَمَا خَلَقَ. He said, I heard it from the Prophet as وَمَا خَلَقَ ذَكَرَ وَالْأُنْثَى. Yeah? Now the point is that on this view, you could say that, well, in that case, there would seem to be a difference of opinion between the companion and the rest of them.
Right.
But this is where it's solved. For example, the famous hadith of Umar ibn al-Khattab and Hisham ibn Hakam. Yeah. Let me finish, please. Okay. Because it's on your point. Please, bro. This is
trying, but
you have to be patient. Please, just let me say. What I'm saying is that Umar ibn al-Khattab and Hisham ibn Hakam, hadith is very sahih. It's authentic.
Sure.
That there were Hisham ibn Hakam, who's a companion. He was reciting Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25 of the Quran. And Umar ibn al-Khattab, as he was being led in the prayer by Hisham ibn Hakam, he said that I heard Hisham ibn Hakam reading the Quran على غير الوجه الذي أقرأنيها رسول الله, on a way that's different to the way the Prophet Muhammad taught me. So he said, I'm not sure if you come across this. Let me finish the hadith. Let me finish the hadith. So he got angry. He said, I got so angry.
Yeah, I've read this one as well.
Yeah, and so he got angry, and then he waited for him to finish the prayer. He grabbed him.
And he took him to the Prophet Muhammad.
He took him to the Prophet Muhammad. And then the Prophet Muhammad said, هكذا أنزلت or هكذا نزلت.
It's been revealed this way, it's been revealed this way.
Exactly, it's been revealed this way and this way. So it was showing what? Showing it goes back to the Umda hadith, which, or the main hadith, which is Unzil Quran ala sab'ati ahruf. The Quran has been revealed in 7
different aruf.
Yeah, beautiful.
Different modes.
Great, you're good, mashallah. You're good.
So my question is that it seems as if the early companions disagreed about what that was.
Yeah, but then the disagreement was resolved by the Prophet.
It wasn't by the Prophet though. It was resolved by Uthman ultimately, right?
No. It was resolved by the Prophet because look, I've just given you an example. We can agree,
Yeah, I agree on that example. What I'm saying to you though is that even after that, there were still arguments among the early companions who knew Muhammad themselves, who were great reciters of the Quran, and yet they had different understandings about what was Quran and what was not Quran. Then Uthman came along and standardized that Quran in your Sahih Hadith.
So there's a degree of truth in what you're saying.
Okay.
The thing is, here's the thing.
I appreciate honesty.
Yeah, there's a degree of truth. There was still, so some Sahaba, some companions, like as I said, Abu Darda, Ibn Mas'ud, Ibn Abbas, they would recite how they heard the Quran, which might have been different to the way somebody else heard it. But as I said before, they are saying they heard it that way because it's on this harf, on this variant.
Right, but then you have to explain to me why were they arguing about something if the Prophet made it clear which is acceptable and which isn't.
Okay, here's the thing. If it was seen as that they are saying something that's other than the Quran, it would have been deemed as kufr, as disbelief in heresy, which it never was. So there was this is why I say there was the degree of truth. There was an atmosphere of acceptability.
Right. Okay, but we need to remember here. So
come. We are Muslim people here. Come and stand in their presence.
La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah.
What I don't understand though is
it's your Muslim people.
La ilaha illallah.
Muslim people. I am not a Muslim. 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 I can never be a Muslim.
Take 2 steps back.
Go to Muslim.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, go to Muslim people. I speak to Muslim people.
Liar ya donkey.
Okay.
Liar ya hamar.
Muslim people.
Liar ya hamar.
Speak to Muslim people.
La ilaha illallah.
Why are you not speaking to Muslim people? Muslims sent you to me.
Muslim God and
Speak to Muslim people.
so
Speak to Muslim people. Speak to Muslim people. Why are you coming to me? Why are you coming to me? You have your Muslim people. Go to them and speak to them. Why are you following me?
Okay. Good man. Inshallah. You're right, yeah?
Why are you following me?
Yeah, inshallah. Yes,
Why don't you follow
go ahead.
Muslim people?
So to me then, it seems as if they were arguing substantially enough about what should have been in the Quran. And Uthman came and standardized it because there's a hadith that says, and it's Sahih hadith, where it says
go to Muslim people and speak to them.
It says, "O chief of the believers,
go to Muslim
save
people
us, save this nation before we become like the Christians and the Jews.
So no, but this is
that
hadith that you mentioned. It was not about the companions fighting within themselves. That hadith that you mentioned was that they said to Uthman, "Adrik ummatak." He said that catch your, ummah, Muslim people, because they can either be like the Jews and the Christians. So it wasn't the companions.
Allah, the pedophiles.
They had a hierarchy.
Why don't you go to Muslim people and talk to them? And tell Muhammad, the bewitched man, the bewitched Muhammad, the madman of Muhammad. How was Muhammad bewitched? Go and read Quran chapter 113 of the Quran. It tells you there how Muhammad became a mad, bewitched man. Quran says Muhammad was a bewitched man. Chapter 25, verse 8. Chapter 17, verse 47. Muhammad, the bewitched madman. Why are you following a madman? Go to the Muslim people. Why do you come to me? They send you to come to me. Go to Muslim people and talk to them.
So my question is then, if so for example Ubay ibn Ka'b had 116 surahs,
but he didn't, like I said, he didn't. That's not an opinion that he kept, and that's not. There's
but at one point he did though.
No, there's no evidence.
Was reached.
There's no evidence of that. He had two.
There's a hadith where he complains that he has learned how to recite. He has memorized 70 surahs of the Quran, and he's complaining they don't take all of what he says.
No, there's no evidence. There's no clear evidence that he took 115, 116 as the Quran. Yeah, these were just two du'ats that he put. Du'a al-Qunut, it's called. He put them in his mushaf.
Yeah, he put them in his mushaf. So he was considering Quran, and there were differences about whether or not that should be Quran.
The issue is, here's the issue, right? With the companions' masahif, for example, they would write on it. So they would put their notes on it. They were not meant to be the official standard copy. The official standard copy of the Quran was the one that was collated by Uthman. Otherwise, if everyone of their personal copies was meant to...
Wait, but this came before Uthman. Uthman took their copies along with Zayd ibn Ka'b, his copy, and then he collated with other materials as well as
the first one was at the time of Abu Bakr.
Time of Abu Bakr, 634.
Yeah.
And they did that because they were...
I'm sure you have some...
you're so good. What I'm saying though is that the first time it was written down in Abu Bakr's copy,
yes,
they feared, and this is again in Sahih Hadith, they feared the parts of the Quran could be lost.
Say again?
The parts of the Quran could be lost. Yeah, you're aware of that?
Say again, sorry?
The parts of the Quran could be lost.
At the time of Abu Bakr?
Abu Bakr, yeah.
Yeah, but at the time of Abu Bakr, it wasn't, I mean, they weren't really concerned, they're hyper-fixated about the Quran as a physical copy because there were so many hafaz. People have memorized the Quran.
There was a fear that that word you used. Sorry,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about 634. Yeah.
All right. So what you're talking about is that when Umar ibn al-Khattab and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq were having a conversation, and Umar was on the side, Umar the second caliph, Abu Bakr didn't want to even have a book.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah. So Umar said no. He made those arguments.
So what I'm saying is that he made it.
But he also made an argument from the Quran. So the Quran calls itself kitab.
Yeah.
So he says because what Abu Bakr was afraid of here was less to do with the preservation issue. It was more to do with the fact that he would do something that the Prophet Muhammad didn't do. So Abu Bakr Siddiq, in order to not do so, Umar al-Khattab had to argue textually through the Quran in order to show that actually. In order to show, that it was legitimate. So he said that the word kitab is used in reference to the Quran,
right? And
so therefore you can make it into a book.
Right. Okay, but my understanding though is that you're right. He was talking about how. My understanding of that hadith is twofold, but the most important part is that he is saying that the memorizers of the Quran are in fear of dying in battle, and therefore parts of the Quran could be lost. We can go. Do you want me to read the hadith?
No. There was that as well.
Okay. But, so is it not true that there's a part of, I think it might be Surah 9, or might be some other surah, where there was only one person who remembered it? I think there's a hadith where it says that we only got that one thing from that one person.
No. There was what you're maybe referring to. I don't know if you're referring to this. You can read out if you have it. What I'm talking about, basically, at the time of Abu Bakr, when Zayd ibn Harith, Zayd ibn Thabit was commissioned to go and basically be the head of the collate the
palm
Quran
trees and the stones.
But also he said that for each verse there had to be 2 witnesses to each verse.
Okay. Sure.
So that for each verse there had to be 2 witnesses.
Sure.
So that's why there was one particular verse, because the Prophet had made a specific supplication where Zayd ibn Harith only took it from one person, but it was understood by everyone else. So basically the Quran as we have it today, you could say that the consensus of the companions on 2 occasions were on it. The first time was at the time of Abu Bakr, and the second time was the time of Uthman. The reason why it was necessary, the reason why it's important at the time of Uthman, is because Islam had spread to different nations.
And they were talking about how those further north, and Sham, and
Azerbaijan and these places.
They were talking about those who had their codices there. Their recitations were different from what they knew,
so that
and they worried about
bring
it.
them all,
bring them. Yeah, you're familiar with this.
Of course.
So my understanding is that because there was a process of taking Quranic materials, compiling them into Uthmanic copy in the Qurayshi dialect, and then burning all other Quranic materials, there is a clear and recorded and quite honest example of where what once was considered Quran is now not longer Quran.
Which verse are you talking about?
Okay, so Uthman, when he collected, what was he collecting? Was it Quranic materials?
No, he wasn't collecting. At this point, it was not a matter of collecting.
Okay,
no, that was at the time of Abu Bakr. The time of Abu Bakr.
I'm talking about Uthman now.
Uthman wasn't collecting parchments and.
No, Abu Bakr was. What I'm saying is, Uthman though, at this time when they were differing about it up north, they would have been codices. Ubay ibn Ka'b, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, that differed. He would have taken those, and he would have also taken Zayd bin Thabit, that copy as well.
Are you talking about Uthman?
Uthman, Uthman.
No, he wasn't doing any of that. All he was doing, he got Zayd bin Thabit again.
Yeah, he did, and he got others.
No, he got all others, of course. There was a lejna. It was called a lejna. It was a commission.
Sure. He got all the different Quranic materials. He then, whenever there were differences, he would choose the Qurayshi dialect. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's another issue. Okay, the Qurayshi dialect.
And then whatever else was left that was not in his copy, he burnt.
Okay, you get it. In a way, you're right.
Quranic materials. Was that Quranic materials?
He burnt.
Yeah, that some people would have thought it's Quranic.
Could have been some part of it.
Right,
some people.
So that is enough to establish my argument.
You're right. Some
which
people.
is that the Quran, as it would be understood by Muslims, is not perfectly precise.
No, here's the thing. The Quran says, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا وَإِنْ تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّمَا هُمْ فِي شِقَاقٍ. If they believe in what you guys believe in, then they're on the right path. And if they don't, then they're astray. You guys is their companions, because it's the second person, and it's the primary audience. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, عليكم بسنتي وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين من بعدي عضوا عليه بالنواجذ. That upon you is to follow my sunnah and the sunnah of the rightly guided caliphs after me, bite upon it with your molar teeth. And in another hadith he mentioned, the point is that there's a difference between the companions, who we believe God has given the stamp of approval to in many verses of the Quran.
But they differ though.
No, I'm not saying that. What my argument is that the variance that existed within the variances within the companion circle.
Okay, so there were variances within the companion circle.
Yes, of course.
Okay. There were.
Those variances were acceptable to the companions.
Okay.
They were acceptable.
But then they argue about it. But I mean,
after the Prophet's death.
After the Prophet's death, in 652 at the time of Uthman.
When you say when they argued about it, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, I can get the hadith out.
No. Do you mean when you say argue by it?
Yeah, they say, what was it? Save us! Oh, save the nation, lest we end up.
Adrik ummatak. No, that's not the companions. So that's what you're talking here. Is not the companions arguing with themselves. This is Uthman being told that. This is Uthman being told that because Islam has spread. These guys who have newly become Muslim, You just learn the Arabic language, Persia, this place, that place. Yeah. They're reading in a certain way. So quickly, before they start reading it wrong and it spreads wrong, bring all of their codices, burn it, and just have one standardized version.
Right. So they were saying things that were substantially different enough to bicker about.
Those people that are newly converted to Islam, of course.
Well, we already know that Ubay ibn Ka'b and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, their codices were up north.
We mentioned.
Remember that?
Sorry.
They were for that. So
no, but they were.
I think Ubay ibn Ka'b may have been from Kufa. I think. Or Basra.
No. These guys were all at the time of the Prophet. They were companions.
Yeah, those guys were.
No, but I think we need to kind of get this right?
Okay.
What I'm saying to you is, yes, the companions, one companion sometimes had a word, for example, Malik and Malik, owner and king, whatever, which was different to another companion.
Okay, well that's the Qira'ah, yeah? That's what
but that's where it comes from.
Well, no, because I'm talking about the Haruf. Because I think they differed on the Haruf.
No, I'm saying is the Ahruf inform the Qira'at.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But the Haruf, I think they disagreed with.
Say again?
The Haruf, I can't.
That's fine.
I think they disagreed with.
What? Who?
Because they had different codices with different surahs in them.
No. The point you're making about different surahs, the numbers of the surahs, the two examples you've given, as I've said, they were reversed. So
I know that later they changed their mind.
The better example, I'll make your argument for you. The better example is on select words.
Okay.
So, for example, I've just given you an example of in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Abu Darda, where he recites it differently. I'm saying that he heard it from the Prophet differently to the way someone else heard it, but because that's where the Prophet had it two ways.
I agree. I agree with the hadith. I've read the hadith. What I'm saying is that yes, I think that there was 7 Ahruf, but they differed on what that was enough so that Uthman had to come in and standardize the Quran. That's what I'm saying.
The differences on the Ahruf didn't really emerge until after the companions.
Okay. So what were they arguing about in the time of Uthman?
No, they weren't arguing. The companions were not arguing about
this. Let's save us before we become like Christians.
Adrik ummatak, this hadith. Save your ummah. Adrik ummatak. Save your ummah before they become like the Jews and the Christians. قبل أن يختلفوا اختلاف اليهود والنصارى.
And that was for Uthman to go and collect and standardize what the Quran is.
He's talking about the new Muslims that have come to Islam. They've just learned Arabic. They were reciting it wrong.
Wait, but the question is which is correct, and that was what Uthman was trying to establish.
No.
He took all the different Quranic materials,
I understand it,
and then he was saying, "Is this correct? Is this correct?"
Chris, here's the issue.
Okay.
Those new guys that come into Islam, did they meet the Prophet?
I don't think that's necessarily what that's referring to.
No, it definitely was.
I think that's referring to Ubay ibn Ka'b's code.
No way.
Well, it would make sense, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't. Because
why wasn't it?
No, definitely not.
But they have different levels of surahs.
No, let me tell you why it's definitely not referring to that.
Why? Despite the fact they were in that area.
No. أدرك أمتك قبل أن يختلفوا اختلاف اليهود والنصارى.
You have to translate.
Which is that this is the hadith.
Right.
That save your nation. Basically, this is a good translation. Save your nation, i.e. the Muslim, the Ummah, before they start differing the difference of the Jews and the Christians. This was at a time where Islam spread to Azerbaijan. Now, it was a new conquest. It was a fresh conquest.
Right, I understand that point of view, but what I'm saying is, though, is the two companions of Muhammad, who were considered master reciters of the Quran,
but they were not,
had different codices in that area.
Are you telling me that Uthman is referring to Ibn Mas'ud?
Well, he would have at least took his codex at that time.
No, because Ibn Mas'ud's in the chain of narration of Uthman's codex. They both have the same chain of narration, and they both teach they both teach the same students. For example, Uthman ibn Affan teaches Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami, and so does Ibn Mas'ud. So that's why you'll find both of those companions, the tabi'i or the student that they have identical Quran.
The Qurans that they had in their codices were different.
No, I'm telling you they're the same.
Collected these along with others.
I've got reference for this.
Can you show me?
Yeah. So
I
don't have it with my hands. It's not even in English. No, it's not in English. It's not been translated. It's in a book called Tabaqat al-Qur'an. It's in a book.
I don't know. Okay, all right.
No, but that's not fair on me, is it?
I know, but you can't use it as evidence.
No, I can't use it.
I can't read it. I don't know.
No, but I'm just telling you. Can.
Okay, well, tell me what it is, and I'll go research it.
Chris,
tell me what it is.
You have to rely on us to translate the Quran anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you rely on me to translate the source? I don't get it.
But you haven't translated the source. That's the problem.
All right. Here's the issue. The book is written.
Any text in Arabic, you wouldn't understand it anyway.
Yeah. So it's not fair. It's going to stunt the conversation.
Wait.
So what I'm saying is, I'll give you the references. A book by Ibn al-Jazari, referred as called Tabaqat al-Qurra, which is the stages of narrators. In it, he mentions that Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami was taught by Uthman ibn Affan and Ibn Mas'ud. That's why they have the same chain of narration. They have the same chain of narration.
Right. How does that relate to my point?
No, because the point you said was you said that Uthman ibn Affan. When he was being told, he wasn't saying it by the way, أدرك أمتك قبل أن يختلفوا اختلاف اليهود والنصارى, that save your nation before they come like the Jews and the Christians, i.e. that their books become unpreserved, like you admitted your Bible's unpreserved.
Not perfectly.
Not perfectly preserved, whatever. You admitted it. So he's saying before that becomes... that's fine, yes, what they believe. It's not all of them. But say for example that he said that, it was said to him, yeah? I'm saying number one, historical context. This hadith was at the time of Uthman al-Affan, which is some 25 years after the Prophet's death.
Yeah? 652.
Number two, this was when the Azerbaijan was being conquered. Yeah, and that's why new converts were coming into Islam. Number three, it's the chain of narration of Ibn Mas'ud is the same chain of narration of Uthman al-Affan when it comes to the Quran. So they have the same, they don't differ. And the evidence
but they have different surahs though.
No, they don't. I'm saying they don't. For example, you know, if I recite now in the Quran, in the mosque, Hafs and Asim, which is the most, as you know.
Yeah, it's a qira'at though. That comes later. I'm not interested in that part.
No, I get it. But I'm saying that qira'ah comes from the same chain as Ibn Mas'ud. Ibn Mas'ud is actually the main guy in the chain.
Right, that's fine.
Basically, I'm saying to you is Ibn Mas'ud, if he believed that the Quran's 112 surahs, not 114, then why is it 112 surahs, not 114, not Falaq and Nas, the two? If he believed that, then why is it that the chain of narration goes back to Ibn Mas'ud? He believes in 114.
What I'm saying is, at one point they argued about it. I then believe after that, after Uthman had standardized
you agree?
they agree with it.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that.
Do you understand that?
No, I understand. But what it was is there was.
Even if you admit that they didn't disagree on it, after Muhammad has died, then there's no authority to be able to determine which is the
I'm
correct
happy
view.
to concede the fact that Ibn Mas'ud, Ibn Mas'ud at one point didn't believe that Falaq and Nas.
And Ubay ibn Ka'b as well.
Ubay ibn Ka'b is more controversial, I have to say, because basically his codex had two du'ats after. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay, I know that if you don't consider them Quran, you consider them du'a. That's fine. But what I mean is because people...
I like the way you said du'a there. You said that was good pronunciation.
I do try.
You're good, huh?
What I'm saying is that because they disagreed on these things, it makes no sense to say perfect preservation because you don't know what Muhammad himself would have said because Muhammad had died at this point.
So is your qualm only with Falaq and Nas?
No, my qualm is very specific. Only with the term perfect.
Okay, all right.
Do you understand?
What I'm saying to you is,
if you say to me, actually, we can infer what was likely meant. We have good reasons for believing that. Then I can say, okay. But if you tell me that there has been no changes and no variations, then I have
no.
But I think you've agreed on that.
No. We're saying. Let me be very clear about my position here, and this position of the early ones. I'm saying is that first of all, when the Quran was being revealed, there were certain ayat that had been revealed in more than one way. It doesn't change the narrative, but at all. Like all this qira'at don't change the narrative at all. The story doesn't change. No, it doesn't change the narrative
at all.
How do you
know that?
I know that because I've been through all of them.
Yeah, but we don't know necessarily what all those aruf are, do we? Or
No. I'm saying that there's only a superficial cesspool of what it can be.
Right.
So what I'm saying is it's not that many things it can be. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'll explain that to you. That's a different conversation. But the point is that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in select verses, he said it in one way and another way. Yeah. Like Malik, owner, king. It's not a big difference. Yeah.
Well, they came later. You're talking about the difference between what the Hafs would have recited.
No. But what I'm saying is that Hafs and Warsh or Nafa, in fact, or Asim and Nafa, because Hafs and Nafa as a teacher, Hafs is a student, Warsh is a student, Nafa as a teacher. Nafa would have taken it from the two available options. This is called ikhtiyar al-qari'. So, for example, Ibn Mas'ud would have told Hafs, Asim, can be recited Malik and Malik. But obviously he can't recite both, so he chooses Malik or Malik. Both of them the Prophet said. So he just chooses one. So there is a choice, but it's a choice with things which both the Prophet said. Do you get it?
I think that you can have a way of knowing what was likely said and what was likely revealed in most cases, but I think there are some cases in which you don't. In which case, it makes no sense to say that the Quran has been perfectly preserved.
Your issue.
Do you understand with that, though?
I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying to you is that...
Let's go back to what you said earlier, because you talked about the two different ways, and you said there's one way which is that actually if there's any variance whatsoever, then it cannot be kalam Allah. That's a problem. And then the other way, which is the way that you hold, is the view that actually, as long as there's one qira'ah Qur'an,
Kalam Allah.
the word of Allah.
No, what were you saying? What was Kalam Allah?
So you gave two options, yeah? The first one is there's a school of Islam that says if there's any variations, then that's a problem. Is that fair to summarize?
It's not a school. It's just a.
Okay, a way of what
Okay, it's an opinion.
some scholars hold that.
Yeah.
Okay, an opinion of scholars. Another one is actually no, we don't hold to that.
Say the first one again.
So the idea that there cannot be any variations.
No, that's not what they say.
Okay, so what do they say?
Okay, the first group of scholars say, which is the Qur'an and Mutakallimun.
Okay.
They say that all of the variations must be preserved in order for the Qur'an to be preserved.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
So if anything is lost or if anything...
Yes.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Okay. So
the second opinion says that only one variation must be kept in order for the Quran to be preserved.
Okay. So on the first view, I think that's evidently not perfectly preserved because there are things that I think are or were supposed to be in the Quran that are not in the Quran.
You can make the argument. You can you can't.
I would be convinced by it.
No. You can make the argument, but
right.
I'm convinced with the second view anyway.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I understand that. But I think it's important for Muslims to know that first opinion is wrong.
For example,
I think it's quite clear. Perfect preservation. Perfect.
No. But the thing is, here's my point, Chris. These two people differed on the term perfect or perfection. Because the first group of scholars said in order for there to be perfect preservation, all the variants must be preserved.
Right.
The second group said no, only one variant. So for them, perfection was one variant preservation.
Is there an example in the early Ummah, or among the companions, where they believed that the Quran as they had it had been perfectly preserved?
When you say perfectly, what do you mean?
What I mean is that option one. What you just said, option one.
No, that's the point.
That's interesting. Right?
I've not seen it. I've not come across it.
Okay,
so what I'm saying is,
but what I mean is that I think there's a problem here in the park.
The early days. The early days. Sorry. The early days.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is,
go on.
Is that Muslims seem to think that the Quran has never been changed.
No, but we're not saying it has been changed.
Well, I'm saying that there have been parts that have been lost.
No. Okay, that's different.
Okay, but that affects your version one.
No.
You see what I mean?
No, let me tell you.
Okay.
Let me explain it. Changed and lost are two different things. The Quran, if we say, look, if we say all the variations, all of the variations of the Quran, like when the Prophet said, "Nuzul al-Quran ala sab'ati ahruf," 7 variations. Is it conceivable on the second view that every single word must be said in more than one way? Some say no, it's not required. So for example, once again, if I were to say Malik Yawmuddin, owner of the Day of Judgment, that's enough. I don't need to say more for the Quran.
I understand that view.
Yeah?
That's fair.
So if for example, let me give you a hypothetical just to make this clear. If the Qira'ah saying Malik Yawmuddin, which is 6 out of 10 by the way, 6 out of 10 Qira'ah. If Malik Yawmuddin wasn't there, on the second view, the Quran would still be preserved. On the first view, the Quran would not be preserved. Do you get it?
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think the problem here then is that there are many Muslims who hold to the first view, not the second. And I just want to make it clear that the first view is wrong. Okay. Because you cannot say...
That doesn't have... Even if you go...
That's it. I think that's it. I think we actually reach a consensus there.
No problem.
Cool.
If that's good. Cool. Because if you say that the first view, which is that all the variants must be there, blah, 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 and the second view, which is that only one variant has to be there, what we would say is that in order for something to have creedal disproving implications, religious disproving implications, then the second view would have to be the one that's attacked, not the first. The first view is not sufficient. The first view is just a view of some scholars that came after. The ones who are closer to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like At-Tabari and Abu Amr al-Dani and...
I agree, it seems to me from what I've seen from the early Ummah, they didn't have the idea that there was some sort of, nothing has been lost whatsoever, everything is preserved as all the different ways that it was recited. Yes. I don't find that. I find the second view, which is what you've mentioned.
But so that's what we would consider that perfect preservation. Let me tell you why.
Wait, the second version.
Let me tell you why. At-Tabari makes this argument, and Abu Amr al-Dani makes the same argument. He says, for example, I'll give you the same example. For example, if I done an oath, if I done an oath in Islam, and I have to recompense that oath. Now, when I have to recompense that oath, I have 3 options: freeing a slave, number 1, or fasting 3 days, or feeding poor people. Now, because God tells us you got 3 options, 1, 2, or 3, if I do one of those, this is how At-Tabari argues. If you do one of those, have I done what is required of me in a perfect way? Yes, I have. I don't need to do all 3.
That makes sense, but that's not in the context of
so At-Tabari is arguing that this is what I'm saying. He has a different definition of perfection. He's saying in order for perfect preservation to happen, All you need is just one qira'ah.
Okay.
All you need is one.
Okay. I think we've probably done pretty well here because I think
Okay.
I managed to get an answer out of you, and I think
No, this has always been my position.
That was fine. No, it's fine. I just want it to be more known, basically.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is it's better for us.
Yeah.
Because now because the thing is now that the challenge will be this, right? The challenge on the other side will be to prove that any variation that has happened has not, the source of it ultimately was not the Prophet Muhammad. So for example, Malik versus Malik, owner versus king. How can you prove that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was reciting Surah Al-Fatiha to the companions, that he didn't recite it at least one time in his life, Malik Yawmuddin, which is owner of the Day of Judgment, another time Malik. We are saying the Prophet in the Hadith, the Hadith says that Unzil Quran ala sab'ati ahruf. Quran has been revealed on 7 ahruf, or modes, yeah? No problem, yeah? Why the Prophet said for taysir, to make it easy for the people, like the Shaykh al-Fani and so on. So some words here and there, which the Prophet said two ways, and the Prophet even said that he asked Allah and Angel Gabriel gave him those. It's called Hadith al-Istizaza, yeah? Okay. So what I'm saying is, the challenge will be to you then, since we've finished, you've agreed with me, the challenge is, can you prove that any of the variations in the Qira'at al-Ashar, for example, in the 10 Qira'as, or elsewhere, the source of it was not Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asking the angel and so on?
I would say that I'm not so interested in the Qur'an because I think the Qur'an is too late. I want to know about the Haruf.
I'm talking about the variations. I didn't say Qira'at.
Okay.
Any variation word.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But we have that Qur'an because of Hafs and we have it from.
No, what I'm saying is, my question to you is, how can you substantiate? Can you say that any variation in the Quran that we see through manuscripts, through the hadiths, or through qira'at, or through any other way, any variation historically identifiable, the source of it originally was not Prophet Muhammad based on this hadith?
I think there are other criteria to demonstrate that second option is wrong. So first of all, we know from early traditions, early Sahih
do you see what I'm saying, yeah?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think there's other ways of doing it. I agree that would be one way of doing it, but I think there's other ways. So I would say another way is if you can demonstrate that certain parts of what was once Quran have now been lost from the Quran, then that would be another way.
No, but that's what I'm saying is, that's not true. That's only on the first view. No, because that's only in the first view.
But you would have to have at least one version of it, though, right? Because you're saying as long as you have one cut of it, then it doesn't matter.
That doesn't work. There's two reasons why that doesn't work. Okay. Number one is because, as we said, some variations, yes, those variations were acceptable within the Sahaba and with the sanctioning of the Prophet. Okay. Number two is we believe in abrogation as well. So these two things are. That's why you can't say, well, it's mentioned here in this manuscript, so it's mentioned there in this book, that there's another verse here. Say, okay, I'll bring that other verse and say that's possibly part of what was originally sent to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Possibly, also possibly not.
Yeah, possibly
So for
not.
example, you know about the verses of stoning and breastfeeding?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is considered by some narrations that this should have been in the Quran. I know you're ultimately going to say that, but I don't see any reason to believe that was the case. But wasn't there also a hadith where some people said actually this should have been in the Quran, but now
no, that's not what the hadith says.
Okay, what does the hadith say?
It used to be part of the Quran. The stoning one used to be part of the Quran, and then it was marfu'a hukman.
But didn't the hadith say that now he fears it has been lost?
No, it doesn't say. No, it was It's consensus that it was part of the Quran.
Okay, but it no longer is.
Yeah, that's been abrogated from the Quran.
Okay, so
the stoning, a sheikh or sheikha, farjumu kul wahid minhum al-battata, whatever, that verse has been taken out.
Right. So there are parts that were once considered Quran that are no longer Quran.
Yeah, the Quran says that.
Okay, so the Quran has been perfectly preserved.
No, but the Quran says that itself. But
if I write a book that tells you I'm going to remove page 3, by removing page 3, I've still changed the book.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Quran has a mechanism of that. So in chapter 2, verse 106.
Right, that's fine. I agree.
Let me just finish. Okay. In chapter 2, verse 106, when it says, "Ma nansakh min ayatin aw nunsiha na'ti bi khayrin minha aw mithlaha," that we don't abrogate a verse or remove it.
We bring something similar or better.
Right. So there's a mechanism.
Okay, I understand that, but that in effect is agreeing with what I'm saying, because now you're saying, well, actually, it isn't perfectly preserved, but that's okay because that's what we should expect.
What you're saying is, all you have to do is find an example of something which is not in for example, the Qira'at al-Ashar or something, right? Yeah. To show that it's been lost. What I'm saying is that's not sufficient. Why that's not sufficient on the second view? It's not sufficient.
Because of abrogation.
No, that's one reason.
Okay.
Abrogation one.
Okay.
The other reason is because on the second view, not everything had to be preserved. Only one variation had to be preserved.
Right, but is there any other variation of the verses of stone feeding?
No, that's abrogated.
Stoning or breastfeeding?
That's abrogated.
Yeah, but you see, that to me is just confirming.
No, that's abrogated by the companions. They said it themselves.
You understand that? You gave me a challenge. I said, well, here's an example of something that was in Quran and now isn't.
No, what I'm saying is abrogated.
There is no recitation of it. And your response is, well, there's a principle of abrogation that explains that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, in which case you're actually agreeing with me. You're just saying it's okay because
No, but
it's
what I'm saying
abrogated.
is your criterion is not a good one. Because what I'm saying is, the Quran itself says in chapter 2, verse 106, that there are some verses that have been removed from it or been forgotten from it. It says that.
Yeah. So it's not perfectly preserved.
No, I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but you're trying to argue that because you have the principle of abrogation, that this is a way of getting out of the way of saying that it's not perfectly preserved.
No.
But it cannot be
We're
perfectly
going back to a subjective word here, perfectly. What I'm saying is...
I think perfectly means that there's one copy perfectly preserved. That's one
That's
copy.
your... Okay, great. You think that?
No. That's the definition from Textual variant of scholars.
No, but I don't care what they say. Why should we care about what white men say about what perfect preservation is?
What?
Yeah, white men, yeah.
Why are you making it a
No,
racial?
yeah, that's why.
Why are you making it racial?
No, it's a racial issue because...
Don't leave white or black. It doesn't matter.
I can say what I want. Sorry to say. What, you're upset about that? White men, yeah, white. What's the problem?
Do you have a problem with white men?
I don't have a problem with white men. I'm saying that just because, for example, a white man...
If I said we should ignore the opinion of brown people, that would be considered...
I didn't say ignore. I said, why should we be forced to accept a definition of a white man? Why should we be forced for that?
I'm not saying you're forced to, I'm saying scholarship.
No, that's not. It's white scholarship. Western scholarship.
Right.
Why should we, the
what's wrong
Muslims,
with
we have our own scholarship, we have our own tradition.
Right,
why should we be pigeonholed? Why should we be forced
Okay,
to
so you
accept
reject
our...
Western scholarship?
Pardon?
Do you reject Western
No,
scholarship? So
I'm-
you affirm Western scholarship?
Is it a matter of rejection?
Well, yeah, because you just said that why should we even consider it?
No.
You said
Let me be clear.
Right, okay.
Just because a white man says something, it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, I know
If
that.
a
I
white
definitely know
man, for
that.
example, if I get a Cambridge
Yeah.
dictionary, if I get a Cambridge dictionary and I open it up and it says, give me the word fear. And it says the Cambridge Dictionary says the word fear means X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
The person who wrote the Cambridge Dictionary is a white man. Okay.
Sure.
You can see that in the back of the editorial process.
Yeah, but
now, just because you bring me that dictionary definition, I don't need to be forced to believe that that's what it means because a white man wrote it.
Okay.
So what
No
I'm
one
saying
ever
is,
said
if
that.
you said to me, what I'm saying, you said that perfect preservation means this according to textual scholarship.
Yeah.
What you actually mean is,
Yeah.
according to Western textual scholarship, which is dominated by white men.
Doesn't matter if it's dominated by white men.
No,
It doesn't matter if it's dominated by black men
No, it does
or
matter.
Asian
No,
men.
it does matter. Why should I?
Why have you racialized this? I don't understand.
No, why not?
Why not?
Is there a problem with saying white men? It's a fact.
Racializing. You're
Yeah,
racializing
I don't care.
scholarship.
I don't care. Call me whatever you want to call me. If you consider that racism, consider it. I don't care.
Yeah, but
It's a
man,
fact.
Why do
It's
that?
a fact.
Why do that?
Why not?
Why not just... Okay, would you accept a white scholar as much as you would accept an Arabic scholar who's brown? Would you accept
Yes,
them as
but
equal?
what I'm saying is, what I wouldn't accept.
Wouldn't?
Did I say I wouldn't?
You said no.
I said yeah.
You went yeah.
This guy
Then you
said
looked
yeah,
at me.
he said he thinks
no,
it's
you
wrong.
went yeah. They went no.
I
So
think
it's okay,
you're
so-
not listening.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, just because a group of, for example, the UN, they have the 30 articles of the, what do you call it, the human rights law.
Sure.
Okay. This was written by white men.
Okay.
So if you say to me human rights is defined by the 30 articles of UN resolution,
Okay.
I say, for me, morality is not defined by what the white man decides.
That sounds awfully like you're not trusting it because they're white.
No. It's why should white people have a hegemony on the rest of the world?
It doesn't matter their skin color.
No, it does matter.
Their
It does
skin color
matter.
matters.
No, it does
Wait,
matter.
does that mean that
It does matter. Why should a white man?
if I was a scholar of Quranic studies, right?
Why
I'm
should
not,
a
but if
white
I was,
man have-
Would that mean that my skin color invalidates that?
Did I say that?
Well, yeah, you kind of said that
No, I didn't say
white
that.
people, that
I didn't say
scholarship
that.
is dominated by white people.
No.
So you shouldn't
What I'm
trust
saying is this. No,
Western scholarship.
no, I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that at all.
Is
You're
that
lying.
what he said?
You're lying. You're clearly lying.
You said
You're
that
clearly lying.
Western scholarship
You're
is
lying.
made up of the majority of white people,
No,
and because
no. What I
they're
said is-
majority
what I
white,
said is clear.
you shouldn't trust it.
Did I say that? Well, it's on camera. If I said that, then they could catch me out. No problem. Go on. Call me racist. Do what you want. Call the police. Do what you want. Sorry. What were you talking about?
I don't know. He brought it up. He said like white people. I'm like, what?
No. It is. I made a simple
white
statement,
people
and
and
you
how-
took it, and tried to make it racial this and racial that.
No, you made it racial by saying it.
It is. I said, why should
No,
I?
you just said. I said Western.
My question to
scholarship
you
is
was
racial.
one: why should I be forced to accept?
No one's forcing you anything.
All right, great.
No one said force.
That's good. So in that case,
Right. Do you
go
accept
back
Western
to-
scholarship?
when it's right?
Okay. Nothing to do with race, though. Yeah.
Have I said this?
Well, because you were saying it's dominated by white men.
Yeah, no, but if white people talk about black people's history, then no, there's a question here. Why should a white man...
There's nothing wrong with people of different colours.
If a white man speaks about black people's history, for example, in Africa, they've never lived in the country, they haven't even...
So they can't talk about it.
They can talk about it, but they're going to have limitations as white people in the West. They're going to have those limitations. And we...
but only because they've never been there, not because they're white.
Yes. It's not because of their skin colour, it's because of the geography.
Don't say skin colour then. Just say...
Okay, thank you for your advice. Thank you for your advice.
Yeah,
going back to the point.
All right.
No, hold on. This is very important. If I, for example,
Should we stop talking about race?
It's up to you, but you're the one who brought it up.
Stop talking about race.
You did bring it up.
You did bring it up.
I said, why should I be forced
to accept Western scholarship that's dominated by white people?
Yeah, why should I? That is the genuine question. I shouldn't be.
I have to go by that.
Why do I have to go by that except for that?
Dude, I don't care what someone's skin colour is.
Okay, good.
I don't understand why you put it
I
on.
don't care what you say, but...
Yeah,
West, yeah.
He said he doesn't trust Western scholarship because it's dominated by white men.
Yeah, but I don't think he meant because of colour of skin.
Yeah, it's not the causative reason.
Okay, so it's not race.
The cause is not the pigmentation of your skin or lack thereof in your case. Yeah,
Sure.
It's not the fact that you're white and
Okay, so it's not
the Prophet ﷺ told us very clearly. There's no difference between a white man and a black man.
Except for in Western scholarship.
Sorry.
Except for in Western scholarship, because that's what you said.
What I'm saying is, just because you have a hegemony, because you said scholarship.
Race, apparently.
See, now you're forcing it upon me. He's poisoning the world.
No, that's what you said. You said white people.
White people,
yes,
right now,
in Western scholarship, that's what you talked about.
Yes.
Right.
If white people, it could be black people, it could be brown people, Western people.
I'd rather not talk about people's colour.
Bro, I don't care.
I
don't care what you care. Well, I said my statement. You can do what you want with it. Honestly, call me what you want. I don't care.
All right. Well, let's get out of this because
the point is this.
Yeah.
Perfect preservation.
Yeah.
We have our own definitions of it.
Right. Which does not meet the scholarly interpretation.
The white man's interpretation. No, the white man's.
Now do you believe it?
No, there you have it.
I gave him every opportunity to get out of it. I gave him every opportunity.
It's a subjective term. Look, perfect is subjective.
No. If you
it's not like 2 + 2 = 4.
With textual variance, textual criticism.
What does perfect mean?
It means that there is one copy of something that
according
we know
to
comes
according
from
to
one
who?
author.
According to who?
According to anyone who studies textual variance.
Like who?
Any scholars.
Give me one.
Dr. Daniel Brubaker.
So white man. No, white. No,
hold on. Man, you're digging yourself a hole.
No, he's a white Islamophobe. Hold on.
He's a white Islamophobe.
He is a white Islamophobe who's appeared in David Wood's channel. You're giving me him as a source.
So
why should I accept this?
What do you mean why should I accept it? It's academia. Why do you not accept academia?
What, because a white man wrote it, I have to believe in it?
No, any colour.
Okay, any colour.
You do know that Dr. Yasser Qadi studies, right? Like I think he studies at University of Rice. I think he might be a different one. You're not saying that you would accept him because of the colour of his skin.
I don't care about him or anyone else. I'm saying that the
only
word,
if they're white.
Look, excuse me. The word perfect.
Okay.
Let's forget about race now. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Get out of that.
I don't need to get out of that. I've said what I said. I've been saying this from 2012. Yeah. I've been talking about. There is an issue with race here. There is an issue with race. Because there's a post-colonial reality, where whiteness is actually something which is part of the discourse.
Whiteness.
Yes, whiteness, the skin color itself. In my country, where I'm from,
whiteness?
look, whiteness, your color. Do you understand or not? If you go to a country if you go to a country, excuse me, if you go to a country like my original country,
I don't know what that is.
all right, which is Egypt,
Okay, cool.
or you go to parts of India, they have a caste system whereby the lighter skin you are, the better you are. There is a racial element.
And you don't believe in that?
No, I don't believe that. The whiter you are, the better you are. No, I don't. Do you believe that?
Or the other way around?
Do you believe that?
No, I don't believe that at all.
Okay, good man. That's what.
But my point is, why do you keep talking about whiteness?
The reason why whiteness is important, my friend, is because
you just told me it wasn't.
No,
okay, go on.
It's important in some aspects. For example, writing of history is because, for example, in the colonial period, a lot of the reason why people enslaved or colonized races was because they believed that their race was better than that race.
Okay.
Do you know that or not?
No,
for example, the transatlantic slave trade. When they went into West Africa, part of the justification of doing that, Darwin himself writes in his book that he thinks that the black man has a fifth toe or something.
What's this got to do with whiteness, though?
Because it's whiteness is part. Look, for example, Nazi Germany. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
When they were doing scientific experimentation in the 1930s, they were doing eugenics programs.
Yep.
Their idea was that the whiter you are, the better you are.
No, the more Aryan you are, the better.
Yeah, that's whiteness skin.
No, that's not. You don't know Aryan.
Bro, sorry, but it's whiteness. They mentioned that the blacker you are, I can give you sources for it.
If you look at what, why are we talking about?
So you're hold on. Look, he's defending Hitler. By the way, he's defending Hitler.
I'm defending.
He's defending Hitler. Yeah.
Really, dude?
He's defending.
Hitler was
yeah,
abhorrent.
No, you're defending the eugenics program.
No,
of Hitler.
you're defending that whiteness is some sort of like.
Have I said that?
Yeah, you said whiteness. You used the term
whiteness. It's some sort of what? Go on.
You
Finish
used
the sentence.
the term whiteness.
What have I said about it?
And you said that whiteness was an important thing in the, context of academia.
Of course it is, because
that
there's
is a racial statement.
Yes, it is a racial statement. It's not a racist statement. It's a racial statement.
Well,
I'm saying that
it's specifically about white people.
No, because there has been a history where white people have gone into black
every
people's
race has
country.
done things to every race.
No, but they're doing it on the basis of race.
Many people have done things on the basis of race.
White people in particular.
I think Western is
White people in
Everybody
particular.
has. Everybody
Western
has.
is a better word.
Listen, with all due respect, I made my point. I've said my point is this:
Okay.
if in the post-colonial literature you do find history is coloured, no pun intended, is coloured by the racial preferences and superiority complexes of white people for the last 100 years. I know that exists.
Okay, so does that mean you accept or reject Western academia?
I'm not saying that I accept or reject. I'm saying that I look at all evidences on the basis of the evidence. But you have to appreciate there can be a bias. There can be a bias that has to do with race. There can be a bias that has to do with placement.
Are you saying
geography.
there is a bias on race?
Yes, there is. Well, historically, of course, there has been.
No, I mean like now.
Yeah, of course there is. Have you not seen the?
Wait. So okay,
have you not seen many? Sorry, racial.
One thing is,
sorry, let me just answer your question.
Okay.
Have you not seen race realism? Race realism. What is race realism? Race realism
is it saying there's inherently qualities in race that are superior to others?
Exactly. And
I reject that, absolutely.
Great. Beautiful,
Okay.
excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Race realism exists. Race realism says that the whiter you are, basically the cleverer you are. They use IQ and other things to say that the blacker you are.
It's any race really.
Okay, no,
Do
you reject that? Do you reject that?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Reject it.
Now you reject that,
Yeah.
but you can't assume all of your peers do. A lot of your.
Okay.
I'm not
I've
considering.
never met a single person who affirms that, by the way.
So race realism, who's it upheld by? But by nobody.
I don't know, like the KKK.
No, it's not by the KKK. It's an academic thing, bro. It's in academia. People equate
Is it a
intelligence.
popular view in academia?
Yes, it's quite popular.
Popular view in
academia.
Race realism.
It's popular. Yes, it's very popular. Extremely popular.
That there are certain races more superior than others.
Yes, of course.
Can you name scholars?
Yeah, of course I can name scholars.
Name me two.
I'll give one. Yeah, one for now. Charles Darwin. Bro, very clearly, Charles Darwin.
From
hold on.
200 years ago.
No problem.
Come on. Name me one today.